Swivel Sessions, interviews with field service entrepreneurs. Get insights and strategies from those who took the leap and risked it all to start their own home service companies. Awesome session today with Regina Patrick from Wags and Whiskers Sitters. Jeremy, talk to me. What you think?
Yeah, Tyson. Regina shows us how a little energy, enthusiasm, a little creativity, along with a customer-focused approach is translating into a rapidly growing small business for her. And I feel like she's embracing technology and using that to her advantage as well.
It speaks volumes when you have a great podcast that runs a long time and then you stop hitting record and then you talk even longer to the person. Just obviously passionate about what she does. First time I've ever heard someone call their business therapeutic. That was awesome. So just a great lady, Regina Patrick with Wags and Whiskers Sitters in Villa Rica. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Swivel Sessions, where we dive into the world of field service entrepreneurship. Now, before we get into today's interview, let's introduce the host you'll be hearing from. First, we have John Tyson, our customer experience guru. He's also our office snack supplier, constantly tempting Edgar and me with those irresistible peanut butter-filled pretzel bites. Thanks to him, we're watching our waistlines expand. Despite extra calories, Tyson keeps our conversations lean and engaging.
Thank you, Rob. And I've got some Reese's peanut butter sticks back here if you need any. Now, next to me, we've got Jeremy, the self-proclaimed eco warrior who recycles estate sale junk and dresses like he just raided his grandpa's closet. He calls it vintage. We call it questionable. Say hello to Jeremy.
Thank you for those kind words. And Regina, I'd like you to meet Rob. He's our operations expert here in home services. He's a master at optimizing workflows and keeping everything running smoothly. But when he's off the clock, Rob's talents take a, let's say, unexpected turn as he bangs away on his electronic drum kit. Let's just say rhythm isn't his strong suit, and the neighborhood is still recovering from his last concert. Honestly, we're not sure if he's working out stress or just attempting to communicate with aliens. Bob?
It's stress, I assure you. Today we're thrilled to welcome Regina Patrick, the enterprising founder of Wags to Whiskers, a pet services, walking, boarding, grooming service company based in Villa Rica, Georgia. Regina stepped into the world of entrepreneurship by starting her own pet services business right there in Villa Rica. Servicing really was like it's the west side of Georgia from Villa Rica, Carrollton, Hiram, Douglasville, almost to the Alabama state line. So we are excited to hear about what inspired her to launch the venture, the challenges she navigated, and the insights gained throughout her journey. So, Regina, welcome to Swivel Sessions. It's great to have you here. And how are things in your world?
Pretty good. I will correct you. It is Wags and Whiskers Sitters. That's okay. That's okay. There are several different variations of the name, so it's real easy to get confused, but it's Wags and Whiskers Sitters. And I don't offer boarding, not as of yet, although I have looked into it, but I do home pet sitting. So in your home, I do house sitting. We offer drop-in pet sitting. We do doggy waste removal, pet taxi, dog walking. So we have a host of services. So there you go. But things are going very, very well. I'm actually on the job as we speak. I am house sitting right now. So things are going well. Yeah.
Hey, Regina, what is your background? Like, what were you doing before you got involved with this?
Photography background, actually. I had a small business. I did photography on the side. And then I also did preschool photography, which has come in handy very, very much. You never realized how much preschool photography prepared me for this, because they are so much like preschoolers, trying to get a good shot when they're moving. And yeah, that's pretty much
why they
it.
call it.
Go ahead, Rob.
I was going to say that's why they call that herding cats when you're. So it's a natural bridge, right, to what you're doing.
Cats, yeah, dogs, you name it, horses. People love it. I mean, but yeah. So I love taking photos. I love showcasing those when the clients are gone. They can look at those and it gives them a laugh.
Is that a piece of your business? Have you
I
incorporated that
don't
in?
do anything with it yet. However, I'm hoping to at some point work that in. I would like to teach some classes with photography to not only expand our business and our skill set, but as well with other pet sitting businesses. If I feel like if I can teach them how to take really good photos, to me, it sells. People are able to feel like they're at home even though they're away.
Regina, I'm curious to know, coming from photography, why pet services? How did you, there an aha moment where you decided to make that jump and start that company?
Well, prior to, my husband was the breadwinner, and this is kind of how this started. I did photography on the side, really enjoyed it, but it just wasn't, I don't know, I guess I, for years, never knew what I really wanted to do. I think some of us take forever in that, and I was definitely one. I've done a little bit of everything, and anything arts wise is something that I'm naturally gifted at and I enjoy, but it just wasn't it. And so I had been at home prior to that. Like I said, my husband was the breadwinner and he had a stroke in 2022. And of course, our finances went with it, downhill turn. And so I took something that I was naturally good at. I had been doing it off and on just as favors to friends, like a lot of pet sitters start out. And I thought, okay, what can I do? I knew that for me, I needed to be working for myself. And I really got to dig in there. My daughter was doing pet sitting as well. And so I just had a slightly different vision and wanted to own my own company. And then as I started digging in and got a little deeper, then I realized, I think I could maximize my efforts instead of staying right here in Villa Rica. I could expand elsewhere and go out a little bit further. So we cover most of the West Georgia area.
And we saw that
And so, yeah.
on your website. So, all right. So tell me this. So before you went off on your own, I want to get a sense of your expectations. What were your expectations on how things would look like when you did this full time? And to follow up, after you did get started, were those expectations met? This is my favorite question I like to ask every entrepreneur
Yes,
because it seems like that's a
that's a great question.
threshold.
Yeah, that's a great question. It didn't happen quite as soon as I thought. I wasn't really sure. I didn't have an expectation so much in the time frame, but it was definitely, it took a little bit of time to build. A lot of word of mouth originally going in. And I'm a visionary, so I can tend to take a look at 10, 20 steps ahead. And so that's what I began to do when I saw that there was a potential for some real growth there. And I began to see a need. I was hearing from folks that said the same type stuff. Either they had already been through some horror stories of using some, we'll call them big tech companies that say they hire pet sitters and they're not trained. So there's a lot of that going on, and they need pet sitters. So they go on to these companies and they say, oh, okay, I need this. And what's happening is because they're not trained and they don't really have the background check or insurance, there's things happening that their pets are getting away or whatever is happening. Crazy stuff like the pet sitter came in and drained their liquor cabinet. It's crazy, but it's there. They're caught on. I know, right? I'm like, well, dang, okay. I didn't know that was a complaint, but that is a legitimate complaint by a lot of folks. Animals being abused, their animals getting out, animals locked in a closet, just all kinds of crazy stuff. And so I was hearing a need for it everywhere. So I began to look outside of just Villa Rica and go, wow, there's literally a need everywhere. So how can I apply that and where can I put myself at this moment?
I
So
love that. But any good or great entrepreneur, that's what they see. They see a need and they fill it with something. So it sounds like you're filling that need for trust with trustworthy services.
trust is huge,
So
cornerstone.
how do you develop that trust in, say, employees, and then how do you convey that message to potential customers?
Transparency for one. I'm extremely transparent, probably more so than I probably should be. I develop a relationship with folks. I feel like, to me, I don't want to be a transactional business. I want to be one that has a relationship. I want to be relationship driven. So that constant communication, not just with updates, but I let people know, look, at any point in time during your sitting, because especially if they have another sitter, maybe they don't know them. So I'm sending photos of, this is going to be your sitter. This is what time they will arrive. This is what time they're leaving. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to us. Our office, we're available for you. So trust is huge to us.
Yeah, I think that's a
Great
huge difference, and I
communication too.
think yeah, and for your business, it seems like it's a lot of repeat business, right? So
Yes, we do. We have a lot of a huge percentage right now. I think we have about 60% of our business, at least last month, was our repeat. Yeah, current
that's
clients.
where, yeah.
Then the rest of it, we had a lot. Last month was insane for us for whatever reason. There's no pattern to it, but we had a lot of new clients as well.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
those relationships drive that repeat business, and you can't have a
Yes,
relationship unless it's built with trust. And that's kind of neat.
yes.
That saw it, or I'm building from that. So
And we love our cameras. I know that that sounds crazy because a lot of folks are uncomfortable with a camera, but it protects us as much as it protects the client. So when they
what do
have a
you
camera in
Absolutely.
their home, yeah, because that's part of it. I mean, you come to expect that it's going to be there, whether it be on the outside or inside of the home. Everyone's got cameras these
yeah,
days.
yeah, like ring cameras and
Hmm.
security cameras, et
Yes.
cetera. Yeah, well, that makes sense. I mean, what? So tell me this. So along the lines of your expectations, and maybe you suggested that things took off a little bit slower. What other unforeseen hurdles to growth initially did you run into? And maybe it's all about marketing. You suggested there was a lot of word of mouth. I mean, was it just kind of, well, you tell me, what hurdles did you have?
Money being a lot of it, money to live on. I know that sounds crazy, but we weren't exactly financially stable. So money to live on so that I could also put money back into my company, because I am a person who likes to invest in my company. So I want to know that, whether it be marketing, whether it be supplies, I want to make sure that we have everything that we need. If it's a leash, certain leashes, treats, whatever it may be. So funding was huge. That was a huge hurdle, and still is. We're not still not there by any stretch or bounds. We're doing really, really well, but it is a huge hurdle to get through. And then, yes, I along with that is the marketing, trying to find out the what, and just really not knowing what I was doing as far as business wise. I'm not a business person, or I don't consider myself to be. That wasn't
You are,
my gifting. I've always been a doer.
yeah,
So
you are a business person now, and that's, I think, one of the
I
fun.
am now,
Yep.
Welcome
definitely.
aboard.
Did not see all of that.
And this is why we ask these questions. And I think it's, from our perspective, it's super interesting how entrepreneurs like you bridge that. And a lot of the people that we talk to are, say, plumbers or electricians. They're good at
Mhm.
working with their hands, and when they make that bridge,
Yes,
they have to learn quickly what cash flow is and how to sell
yes,
things. Or maybe they were originally based in just the sales aspect. So it's fun to see, um, how you accommodate all those other functions when you
yes,
jump in and do it all yourself.
absolutely.
A running theme, Regina, what we hear from a lot of these guys, if not all of them, is that initially they're overwhelmed. They feel like they've, jumped into the deep end, and that's good to hear that everyone feels that way because that's why you do
Yeah,
it.
it's growth. Yeah.
And I find that there's oftentimes a common thread of optimism.
Hmm. I would
Would you
agree
say
with
that
that.
you were optimistic the whole time? Are you still optimistic? Were there times of
I am
doubt?
still, yeah, I'm by nature an optimistic person. So I try to look at even when there's a trial, so to speak, if there's something that feels a little negative, I look at it as, well, it's a learning experience. What can I learn from it? Rather than looking at it as it's just a hurdle. So we'll get over it, we'll move past it, but what did I learn from it? And if I can't learn from it, then there would be a bigger problem.
That is the beautiful side of
So,
optimism.
Gene, you started 2 years ago, roughly.
Yes, in January as a business entity with my LLC, it was January of 2022.
Okay, okay, coming up on a
So this January, 3 years. Yeah.
third birthday party. So you started
Congrats.
off with by yourself and maybe your daughter, and how big is the company now? Like with sitters and
It's
office
still
people.
relatively small. My daughter has her own pet sitting outside of mine, although she is an independent contractor, so she works alongside of me, and with me, but she also has her own, and I love that she has her own independence like that. I think it's great. But she has begun to merge more and more with us. She's realized that, wow, I take a lot of that headache off, that she
What's the name
doesn't
of her
have to
company,
deal.
Regina?
She doesn't have a name of it. She just does her own pet sitting, on the side. So, and she's been doing it, I think, probably since she was 18, at least. So,
Then do you have like independent contractor sitters, or how
at the
does that work?
moment, we are working on that. We started out that way because of where I sit financially. It's not really what I would like to have, but until I am at a place to make that transition, and I'm hoping the way things are looking as I'm looking at the bookwork, it's looking like I'll be able to make this transition sometime at least by mid-year.
To
So I'm
transition
feeling
them
really, really good.
to
Yeah, going from independent contractors transitioning to employees. And that's what I truly want. I feel like it adds stability for other folks that are looking at us and going, hey, I'd really like to know these guys are employed versus can come and go. I think having that, anything that translates as stability,
so and you're thinking that that translates into a higher level of trust, I'm assuming,
feel like
because
I
they
do. I feel like so. And two, I'm hoping by the end of it, it's been a goal of mine. I set small goals and work my way through. And one of my goals is by the end of 2025 to come fully out of doing pet sitting myself. And it will be all on my sitters. So those are some of my goals that I'm working toward.
focusing on the marketing. So
Yes.
how do you do your marketing now? And how is it working?
We use a lot of Facebook. I use a program that I absolutely love. It's called Buffer. And the free version, won't even lie, the free version allows you up to 3 different platforms at one time. So it cuts down on a lot of time, and I'm able to upload certain images and whatnot, and then it will upload to all of the social media platforms. And so as many that I want. I didn't want to overwhelm myself since, yeah, social media isn't necessarily my strong suit. But marketing I do enjoy, and I actually, again, the arts area for me being very artsy, creating my own content, creating my own stuff, that I am good at and I
Do you have
enjoy.
do you get permission, like consent agreements from your clients to use images or
Mhm.
videos of their
Yes,
pets?
that's
Yeah.
that's actually in our service agreement. There's
Okay.
several things that they have to sign, and it will go over everything from vet care to what should happen in an emergency and so
And
on.
I'm assuming that's what you use in your content when you're putting out to social media or Facebook or whatever.
Yes, yes.
And
So I
Regina, did
use
you
a
say?
lot of images, but I also use a lot of, depends on what it is. Like on Facebook, I don't want to be another, to put it out there, I don't want to be just another ad running. So I like to do a lot of what I call info posts, and they're things that might be useful for other folks, that might be, did you know this, or what have you, about the pet, so that folks are familiar with their animal and their needs.
Regina, you said the name was Buffer, that of the technology that you
Yes,
use.
Buffer. I use Buffer
What did you? Was there
for
anything
Preschool.
you didn't like about them, or are you using them for scheduling or
It's for
contacting customers?
scheduling only.
Okay.
It's for scheduling, and so it goes across usually three, up to three is free, different platforms. So it could be Google, it could be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, whatever sites that you choose. It'll do up to three of them, and you can put it on a time. So I like that. So I use Buffer a lot,
That's for
and
scheduling
then I create my
advertisements.
content. I'm sorry.
That's to schedule advertisements with your content.
Yes. And then I use Canva to create a lot of the stuff.
Yeah. I like Canva.
Hmm.
I'm not good at it, but I'm sure you're great at it with your
Thank
artistic
you.
background. That thing's good. Let me ask you about your pricing strategy. So I know just from experience that pet sitting can be expensive.
It can.
Tell me how do you position yourself and your company, Wags to Whiskers Sitters? How do you position them in terms of pricing?
Did a lot of research going in. I went through any and all, whatever I could come up with, and there was actually a lot of information out there. And we're also a member of Pet Sitters International as well. So it was really neat to be able to pick some brains, find out what folks are doing, getting on and networking with other clients. But I did a lot of initial looking into it, research, and I wanted to come up with a price that I felt like was fair to me as a solo sitter at that time, but also gave me room to grow. So as I created a team that would come out and do, I could also be able to pay my other sitters and still generate some income for myself to make sure that that was covered. But I also wanted it to be affordable. So for me, and our pricing looks slightly different, as the average pet sitter will include by pet. I cut all that off. And so it's really more time based. So, like, our drop in settings are $25, which I feel like is adequate. And that allows for everything we need to do within a 30-minute span. Now, our sitters know that, hey, look, if they are there and they're able to spend a little bit more time, go for it, just not less. So they're there at least the amount of time. And it's affordable to folks that need multiple visits. But again, it still covers us and allows for us to be able to make an income.
Think that makes a lot of sense. As an owner of two border collies, we've had companies come and they charge twice as much, but they're only opening up one door to let them out.
Hmm.
They're feeding them in the same 10-second span. So I think it's a good strategy to do that,
Yeah. We
to
wanted
charge by the
simplistic.
time. And I think that goes better. And I think it feeds into your strategy of building trust, because that, for me, that would work. Let me ask you. I know these guys don't like to ask this question, but what is your expected revenues? So you've been in business for 3 years. I want to gauge your growth rate that you've had in those 3 years, and then we'll ask about what your expectations are in the future in a second.
Well, it's going to sound very, very tiny in comparison to a lot of other businesses. So I'll
Sure.
throw that out there, but that's okay. this is where we're at, and this is pet sitting. So my average, I think when I started out, I was barely making somewhere around about $600 for the month, and it was really sad. And then, but I had put a goal for myself that I wanted within so many months, I wanted to reach. I went to $1,500, and then when I did that, $1,700, then 2,000, and then I began to do that, and then now, fast forward to now, we jumped from making that then to 5,000. Last month we went, and it was a huge jump. We went from making that, let's see, July we hit 7,000. We hit just barely short of 13,000 last month. So it just shot right up. And a lot of that was in positioning sitters exactly where they needed to be and having the right, just the right sitter and in the right place.
So getting into the future state and what your goals are in the future, it sounds like you've got a good recipe for scaling the system. I know in today's gig economy, there are a lot of people who are looking for
Yes,
gigs across whatever. And it seems like
absolutely.
if you get the marketing down and it's something that you could scale is what it sounds like to me. And that is am I stating your
Yes,
goals for you? I mean,
absolutely.
is this where you want to go with things?
Yes, and I want to keep growing, and there is so much more room. I mean, this isn't even, this is just a piece of it. There is so much more room to grow and to grow beyond this. This is just small compared
Yeah.
to. Once we have really some full-time sitters, we've got one right now that she is a true full-time sitter. She is on the spot, working her tail end off, and she's able to do that. We have a lot of folks that want house sitting, so that makes things slightly different because when they're house sitting, they can't leave to go do drop-in sittings. So changes things a little bit. So who wants to do house sitting? And folks feel like, okay, well, what can I do during that time? Well, spend a lot of time with the animals, of course,
I
but
would think
understandably, income.
in terms of house sitting that some contracts might allow for the sitter to be gone for 6 hours a day or 5 hours. I know I'd be fine with that
Depending on,
if
yeah.
someone, yeah. So I mean that's something maybe to look at. Well, I am
Yeah, we
hoping
leave
that
a
you
little bit of room for us because
right.
obviously you've got to run up to the store to get a gallon of milk
Yeah,
or
yeah,
what
right.
have you. So we do have a little bit of wiggle room, but for the most part, when our sitters are there, we're there.
Well, I'm hoping
I'm
you
going on.
expand. So I mean, I'm hoping you expand because I'm on the east side of Atlanta and I could use a trusted service to come watch my crazy
Quality.
border collies.
Well, I will tell you, I'll give you the secret here is go on petsit.com, and that is Pet Sitters International. And when you go on there, you can look up the folks that are listed will have their name up there and they'll have their credentials. So whether it's pet first aid and CPR trained, which we are, you can look any of us up there. So you can find out how many years they've been in business, what areas they cover, what animals they cover, and all that sort of information.
I'm sure you're on that list, obviously.
Well, I am on that list.
I mean, there's a lot of customers like us that want that trusted relationship, like what you're offering. So hats off to you.
Thank you.
Last question, and is what are your long-term plans? Like, what's your exit strategy? Are you looking to sell this? You want to, once you
Yeah,
build it up to
this is it. This is it. I have found something that I truly love. I never thought that I
right.
would be
Good for you.
actually enjoying the business side a little bit more than I ever anticipated that I would. That was a total surprise to me because, again, I've always been a doer. So getting to spend time with these babies is amazing. Every one of them. I mean, it's therapy to most of us. It really is. And to see their eyes, to see how excited they are when they see us, to get those hugs, it's amazing. We will still, most of us, Pet said, I think even if we were in the office, we're still going to have to, we just have to do it. We love it that much. So I don't
It's awesome
ever
to hear.
Yeah, I love that.
Love the passion. Well,
Thank you.
we've covered some ground today, and
All right.
I, for one, have really enjoyed listening to your journey from building Wags and Whiskers Sitters, and it's inspiring to hear a great story like yours. The insights that you shared and the stories about navigating the business and marketing and those unexpected hurdles, they're great lessons. I particularly
Thank
like
you.
how you apply your optimism to problems that arise and take the lessons from them.
Thank you.
Again, hats off to you. So, but before we wrap things up, is there anything that you'd like to share with our listeners? Anything that you want the audience to take away, and particularly to those who are looking to follow in the entrepreneurial footsteps and starting their own business?
I think not being afraid to do something that is new to you, a new experience. If it's a passion that you have, not looking at your shortcomings, but looking at, okay, well, maybe I can. What can I do? Maybe it's being better educated in an area, but digging your heels in, seeing that you can do it, and just getting out there and making the decision and applying yourself to do it. So we love it. I can't imagine doing anything else but this.
Gina, you just have so
Excited.
much passion. It's so great to hear. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And fearlessness and optimism. I love it. So thank you so much for sharing your journey and insights with us today. And we appreciate you taking the time to
Absolutely.
speak with us. And I think your story is gonna resonate with a lot of inspiring entrepreneurs.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that was an incredibly enlightening conversation. A huge thank you to Regina Patrick for sharing those valuable insights and stories. It's great to see how much hard work, passion, and dedication that you put into building Wags and Whiskers Sitters and how it's paying off. And for all of you watching or listening, if you're in the West Atlanta area and need full service pet services and sitting, make sure to reach out to Wags to Whiskers Sitters. You can find their contact information right here on the screen.
Put your fingers up,
They're
Regina.
ready to help with your pets or animals, and you can trust that you're working with a true expert in the field. Once again, thank you, Regina, for being here with us on Swivel Sessions.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Regina.
Thank you for
Regina.
having me.
Loved it.
Thanks for listening or watching. Swivel's Field Service software is everything you need to run your field service for free. Till next time, check us out at swivel.tech. That's SWIVL.tech. And that's a wrap.
You're great, Regina.